Alrighty, welcome to the 111th edition of Before the Battle here live on YouTube. I'm Nick Baldwin of BloodyElbow.com. Joining me, as always, is Jed Meshew of MMAfighting.com. Jed, how's it going tonight?
Excellent, man. Getting a little late start to it this week, but it's at least a really for the first time. Like I'm exhausted just from the rest of my life going on and being busy and stuff. But for the first time in a long time, I'm actually looking forward to staying in tomorrow night and watching fights. We've had a bunch of cards, but honestly, like the last couple of Bellators have been comparable to what the UFC's put forth as far as on paper. This event is on paper the best thing they've done all year. So I'm at least excited about most of the fights tomorrow. Still a little too long. We could shave a couple of these fights off and do better, but still a really good event.
Yeah, I mean, you could take off, you could remove a solid three fights, maybe four, we'll stick to three. And I think that'd be a great card, but three extra fights, not gonna complain too much about. But yeah, I mean, I'm even before, cover of the sport, I love it. I'm a fan, but the last three cards haven't been so great. Pretty weak and down on paper, and then off of paper, Chile was good. Main event not so great. Liverpool was Last card was not so great. Um, I have high expectations for UFC 225. Whether that's a good thing or a bad, we'll find out tomorrow night when it goes down from the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. The UFC Middleweight Championship was supposed to be on the line with champion Robert Whittaker defending it for the first time in a rematch against Yoel, the Soldier of God Romero. But Yoel Romero missed weight for the second time in a row consecutively, and therefore is ineligible to win the 185-pound title tomorrow night. Even if he knocks out Whittaker, even if he taps him out or decisions him, he will not be crowned the UFC middleweight champion. Instead, as far as we know right now, I know the UFC hasn't officially really commented on it. Dana White said his little spiel, but what does that mean? I don't know. But as far as we know, it's a non-title fight, 5 rounds though in the main event still. So the co-main event interim welterweight title fight has not been shifted to the main event. So that's good news for, I think, a lot of fans, because we deserve 5 rounds of that terrific matchup, but also Robert Whittaker, because I think we can all agree that 5 rounds favors Whittaker over Romero, whereas a 3-rounder would give Romero a bigger advantage than what he would be going in with had it been a title fight. So interesting main event. We'll talk about that. Jed, I know you said offer you don't have results from last week, which was UFC Utica. Do we have DraftKings? Do we have anything else, or just DraftKings?
We have the DraftKings. I just don't have the picks. I think off the top of my head, I have a belief that Wesley Riddle won last week, but I can't confirm that. I can say that he did win our DraftKings contest, 378 points, just edged me out. I had 369.5. And let's be frank here, he had Jody Escobar on his team, and so he beat me while essentially forfeiting one spot. Really a strong showing from him. Gregor Gillespie, Marlon Moraes, both the big performers of his squad there. You bringing up the rear with 270. Rivera 0 points for you, which is rough. Ellenberger 2.5 points. Vince Michelle 3.5 points. You had a couple of duds.
I started out so good though, because if you look at it, all the bad picks were later on, like Rivera main event, Ellenberger main card, but that's the way she goes.
Sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles, but you get another chance this week to see if you can make some magic happen.
I do, and we don't know who won the bonuses, but let's just give that crown to me, because
I'm pretty sure I won the bonuses.
You did?
Because I hit my underdog pick of the week last week. I don't remember who it was, and I think I got one of the bonuses. I could be wrong. Next time we do this, I'll have a full report and accounting for this event and the past one before. But I think I got bonuses, and then Wes is a double winner.
All right, well, let's move on to UFC 225. Everything kicks off on UFC Fight Pass at 6:15 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, 3:15 p.m. Pacific. We kick things off in the featherweight division with Mike Santiago, Little Bully, taking on Dan Ige, Dynamite himself. Both guys looking for their first official UFC victory here. Both guys won on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, but have fallen short in their combined 3 UFC belts thus far. Jed, you like Santiago or Ige?
I'm gonna take Ige here. Let's be upfront with the viewers for this one since it's just before the event. You and I are both a little tired. As good as the card is, this is not the fight that's good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say I'm taking Ige. Basically, I think Santiago is gonna be too content to grapple, and Ige is a good enough wrestler to take him down. And Santiago is probably not gonna win the fight off his back, so he's gonna lose the fight off his back. Give me Ige by decision. Wes Riddle does have his picks in with us this week. I know last or 2 weeks ago, I don't think he did. But this week he's here. He's got the underdog. You're going to see a theme. He's picked a lot of underdogs this week, and his first one is the first fight of the evening. Mike Santiago by decision. So split the difference. Tell us who is right, who's wrong.
I think you're right on this one. Give me Dynamite Dan Ige. As much as it pains me to pick him just because he does work with Ali Abdelaziz, but nonetheless, give me Dan Ige here. I like him to beat Mike Santiago. Tough one to call. I think this could actually be a pretty fun scrap. Santiago showed, he showed a lot on Dana White's Tuesday in the Contender Series, winning by stoppage, but 0-2 in the UFC, not a great look. He needs the victory here, so maybe that'll give him more motivation. But ultimately, I think Ige is just a bit more well-rounded. I think he probably can beat Santiago on the ground in a pretty scrappy affair. So give me Ige. I'll say a third-round submission, but TKO decision. Nothing would surprise me in this one. There's better fights on the card, but honestly, no one is talking about this fight just because it's the first fight and two lower-level guys. This could be some fun. So maybe tune in for the first fight. Why not? Give me Danny Ige, though, here by stoppage. Moving on, we already are going into some good fights here. Lightweights, Clay the Carpenter Guida taking on Charles Do Bronx Oliveira. Oliveira, of course, is up at lightweight for the second fight in a row. Of course, you will remember him from his time at 145. But here he is, after struggling to make 145 for years, finally fighting at 155, perhaps to stay. Do you like him here against Clay Guida, or does the vet in the Carpenter, now at Team Alpha Male, get the job done?
I'm going to go with the Bronx here. I think he looked okay. I know he lost to Paul Felder when he moved up, but I think he's still – I don't know. Charles Do Bronx is the kind of guy who is just going to always kind of trick me into picking him in fights he probably ends up losing. But I know Guida's run off a couple of wins in a row here, and that's good for him. His only losses, or his most recent loss to Brian Ortega, don't take too much from that in a fight he was winning until he lost. But I don't know. Guida's been around for so damn long. He's got to be like 40 or 37 at least. Like he's got to be in his late 30s pushing. And Charles Oliveira has been around for a while, but he's just like a much younger guy in general. I think Clay Guida's falling off. If Clay Guida can just kind of wrestle hump Oliveira to death, okay. But I think Oliveira's crafty enough that Guida probably doesn't really want to be getting into prolonged grappling exchanges with him. And on the feet, I just think Oliveira's a little bit better, or at least hits with more power. Guida might do that thing where he cavemans and shakes around and looks busy, but isn't. So real close fight. I'm going to take the favorite, Charles Oliveira. And again, we have dissension because your boy Wes Riddle, once again, 2 for 2 picking underdogs to start the night. He's taking Clay Guida by decision. So arbitrate who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you again and give me Charles Oliveira here to win his first lightweight fight in quite some time. Tough one to call, though. When I saw Clay Guida open as the underdog, my first gut reaction before deciding on Oliveira was, that's not a bad underdog. Clay Guida might win this fight. He has a chance. Charles Oliveira, I know a lot of people like to say he's a quitter. I don't necessarily think so. Some of his fights are, end in strange fashion, but I think the guy, isn't exactly what some people think. But Clay Guida, on the other hand, this guy goes at it way more than a lot of fighters. This guy's so tough, so gritty. Still has a bit of a chin. I know Brian Ortega knocked him out in June 2016, but Brian Ortega also knocked out Frankie Edgar just a few months ago. And so, how much did you put into that loss? That was Guida's last loss. He is on a 2-fight winning streak. Eric Koch, Joe Lozon, both very impressive performances. he destroyed Joe Lozon. And I know Charles Oliveira is not Joe Lozon, but or I guess I probably should have said that the other way around. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, Clay Guida is having a bit of a career resurgence. As crazy as that might sound, Team Alpha Male has been doing good things for him, it seems. But on the ground, I think Oliveira still has the advantage. If Guida gets on top, can he hold Oliveira down? I'm not confident enough in that to pick Clay Guida. And on the feet, it's a bit of a toss-up. I think this will mostly be a ground fight. I got to favor Oliveira there. Give me Oliveira via late submission. We move on to one of the better fights on the card. Flyweights, number 1, Joseph Benavidez versus number 5, Sergio Pettis. Very important fight for the division. But again, of course, like every other flyweight fight this year, it is buried in the prelims. Not even just on the prelims, it is buried in them, right on Fight Pass. Do you like Benavidez here returning from a very long layoff, or little Sergio Pettis?
Give me Sergio Pettis. I'm taking my first underdog of the night. I won't be at all shocked if Joseph Benavidez wins this fight. He arguably beat Demetrius Johnson at one point in time. This dude has been at the very top of this division forever and just kind of can't summit the mountain that is one of, if not the best fighters that we've ever seen in the sport. That being said, I thought he lost to Henry Cejudo. I thought he looked older and slower in that fight. I think he's probably been around a little too long and is going to start declining. And at lower weight classes, when the decline starts happening, it usually comes a lot quicker. You can hang around as an old guy at heavyweight for ages, but once you start getting shop worn, the lower you get, the harder it becomes to do that. The continuous weight cutting, all that stuff starts adding up, putting the miles on his body. Sergio Pettis is young. He's improving. Henry Cejudo is too much for him. But Joseph Benavidez is not the same kind of wrestler that Henry Cejudo is. He's just not active a fighter as Henry Cejudo is. So you add in the long layoff for Benavidez, the fact that I don't know where he's at mentally. He seems a little pissed off that he's having to fight on the undercard here with good reason. Like I support his belief that it's bullshit that he's on the Fight Pass prelims. He's not even the main event of that shit. That's pretty fucked up. But yeah, it's I'm just gonna say new guard moving in. Sergio Pettis gets the biggest win of his career in a very close decision, just outboxes him. And again, Wes Ripple and I haven't agreed on a fight yet. He's taking the favorite. He's taking Joseph Benavidez by decision. So again, you got to decide who's right, who's wrong.
Well, this time you're on the island all by your lonesome. Give me Joe B.
You're taking the favorites.
I don't even know why you asked. Give me Joseph Benavidez to win his return fight. Very close one. If this was Joe B back in December 2016 when he fought Henry Cejudo, he didn't actually look great in that fight. Maybe Cejudo just looked really good in that fight. It's tough to say, but I mean, Benavidez has probably lost a step. Now, do I have confidence in him? No, because he hasn't fought since December 2016. That was the same card DJ fought Tim Elliott on after the Ultimate Fighter 24. And so it's been so long. He's coming off a nasty knee tear, ACL, I believe it was. It seemed worse than other ACL tears we've seen in MMA as of late. So, I mean, I hope Joe B is back to full health and he looks good, but it's hard to, have confidence in that. But that aside, if Joseph Benavidez does show up at least partially, I think he does get the job done against Pettis. On the feet, it's a tricky fight. I mean, Pettis is a very good striker, but Benavidez is just so well-rounded. I think on the ground, Benavidez is a bit better. And on the feet, I think he can hang with Pettis too. I mean, Pettis is known as a striker. His power, he doesn't have tons of power, but a lot of output, and he looked good overall. But Benavidez, just because he's so good everywhere, sure, you don't think of Benavidez as an amazing striker, but he still is very good on the feet. He's good everywhere. And so I just think he has a few more ways to win. Give me Joe B by decision here, but I do think it'll be a very close one. Pettis could get the nod. I won't be shocked. Again, because of the layoff, Benavidez getting a bit older, but until I see him lose, I can't pick against him unless it's probably DJ or Cejudo at this point. I probably favor Cejudo against him now, but against anyone else pretty much, maybe even Horiguchi. Against anyone else, though, give me Joe B. Give me Benavidez by decision. In the final fight pass early prelim, we got the former UFC light heavyweight champion Sugar Rashad Evans taking on Anthony Lionheart Smith. Of course, Rashad Evans' prolonged MMA career continues here. Could be coming to an end very soon. I kind of, hope it is, but nonetheless, here we are. Rashad Evans, Anthony Smith on Fight Pass. Free, well, not free, but $10 a month or whatever it is. Who do you like here?
This is going to be the shortest analysis of the evening. Rashad Evans should retire. He's done. He's done. He's done. He's done. And Anthony Smith is not. Anthony Smith's going to knock him out. If maybe Rashad Evans make the final bell, but ain't no way he's winning this fight. Give me Anthony Smith. I'm going to say KO in the second or third round, and Westwood agrees he has a KO for Anthony Smith in the second round. Is it unanimous?
It is. We have the first unanimous pick here in Anthony Lionheart Smith against the former champ, Rashad Evans. As sad as that sounds, just because not even a prime Rashad Evans, but somewhat prime, coming close to your prime, just out of it, he'd mop the floor with Anthony Smith. But it's Rashad Evans, who's, 37, 38, however old, taking a lot of damage. He's lost. I mean, losses to Dan Kelly and Sam Alvey are just not losses you want on your record. As a former champion, as a guy with such name value, he's on a 4-fight skid. He hasn't won since November 2013. I just can't pick Rashad Evans in a fight, really. I mean, he'd have to fight a very low-level fighter for me to confidently, or even not even confidently, just to pick him. Anthony Smith isn't a great fighter, but he's good enough. He has power. His kicks are decent. His output's all right. Evans just can't pull the trigger, and that's okay. He shouldn't be able to. I mean, he's getting up there. He's taking a lot of damage. He's been there, done that. That's fine. Can't fight forever. Rashad Evans needs to learn that. Give me Anthony Smith by TKO in round number 2. Moving on to the 4-fight FS1 prelim card, which kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We go to the heavyweight division with Rashad Daywalker Coulter and Chris De La Rocha, both looking for their first win inside the octagon. Who do you like here, Jed?
I actually lied. This is going to be my shortest analysis. De La Rocha doesn't defend strikes, and Rashad Coulter punches really fucking hard. This is going to be a first-round KO for Coulter. Westwood agrees. First-round KO for Coulter. This is the middle section of the card that sucks and nobody needs, and I'm just trying to move us through as quickly as possible. Because
this is one of the 3 or 4 fights you can get rid of, and
absolutely
225 is probably better, just because you don't need to sit through meaningless fights. Both guys have 0-2 records in the UFC. Both have been knocked out twice. Neither guy is great. I think Coulter's a bit better. I don't really know, though. I'll just go Coulter. He's the favorite. It seems to make sense to me. Give me Rashad Coulter by knockout. Probably, late round 1, I guess. Moving on to a very awesome featherweight fight. We got Ricardo the Bully Lamas, a former title challenger against Jose Aldo back in 2014. He's taken on rising contender Mirsad Bektic. We got number 7 versus number 11 in the stacked 145-pound division. Do you like Lamas or the slight betting favorite here in Mirsad Bektic?
Man, this card has a lot of the old guard holding on against the up and coming here in this fight.
Sure does.
Card. And you're going to see a theme develop with me going across here. I am going to take the young up and comers almost every time. Ricardo Lamas was a top 5 featherweight for like a decade or some extremely long period of time. And he just got killed by Josh Emmett in a fight that wasn't a featherweight fight, but whatever, we'll move beyond that. The long and short of this story here is that Mirsad Bektic is one of the very, very best prospects in MMA. The only concern I possibly have coming off that Elkins loss is that maybe he doesn't have a good chin, but I don't know that for a fact. It might have just been the way that fight kind of broke down. Otherwise, outside of the one thing Darren Elkins did, he has beat the ever-loving hell out of everybody in astonishingly convincing fashion. And the thing that tips the scales here is Ricardo Lamas never been a really great defensive wrestler, actually. And Mirsad Bektic is a good wrestler. He's going to take him. He's going to box with him on the feet and can probably outwork him there. And he can just take Lamas down and just work him over on the ground as whenever he wants to. Give me Bektic in a big dominant way. I don't know that he gets Lamas out. Lamas is a really tough son of a bitch, but I do think he beats on him for 15 minutes. Wes Riddle disagrees. He has Bektic knocking out Ricardo Lamas in the first round.
Well, we are unanimous. Give me Merced Bektik here as well. I'm not quite as confident just because although his last performance is great, I mean, you still have when you think of Merced Bektik, what goes through your mind first is him getting head kicked, knocked out by Darren. What's his name? The Savage Elkin, something like that. The damage. The damage. Savage would work too, but damage is fine. Yeah, give me Bektik here though. I think Lamas, his best days are probably behind him, so I think that has to count for something. He's taken not tons of damage, but getting starched by Josh Emmett. I'm interested to see how he comes back from it. I mean, some guys are never the same after brutal knockout losses. When they don't get knocked out very often, like Lamas does, it'll be interesting to see how he looks against Bektik. But no easy out here. The Bosnian fighter here is very skilled. The guy's a great striker. He's great in the wrestling department. His submissions, he has a few of them up his sleeve. Is he more well-rounded? Probably. I guess he hits harder than Lamas. Lamas has never, been much of a puncher. I mean, his jab's all right, or it's better than all right. It's good. His striking technically is good. He just doesn't quite have the output, quite have the power that Bektik does. Bektik's just younger. He's hungrier, and this is the fight he's been waiting for. Not necessarily Lamas specifically, but this is a big fight for him. I mean, he's never fought a top 10 opponent before. So will this be the toughest fight of his career? It should be, but will he pass the test? I think so. Give me Merced Bektik by decision here. Moving on, we got a very important strawweight fight between Claudia Gadelha and Carla Esparza, former title challenger versus former champion. Both fighters looking to get back into the title mix. Esparza probably has a better case for a future title shot than Gadelha has, just because Gadelha is coming off that loss to Andrade. But with Namajunas as champion, say she beats Andrade, Gadelha can be right up there as well. So very important fight. Especially if Jessica Andrade just didn't exist, but she does, so she'll probably get the next title shot. Nonetheless, we got to get it. Gadelha versus Esparza. Gadelha is a big favorite. Do you agree with the lines, and are you picking her here?
I do agree with the lines. I am picking her. I feel like I'm giving our viewers a little bit of short shrift, but as some of these fights just aren't interesting to talk about, and this is one of them. This is a great fight. Two top 5 strawweight competitors, a former champion versus the kind of well-established second banana in the division. I know that that's a little bit up in the air with Andrade kicking the shit out of Gadelha, but for a while there, she was clearly the number 2. And it's just, man, like this, I don't see how this goes any other way beyond Gadelha beating the ever-loving hell out of Cookie Monster here. Gadelha's a physical monster, and Esparza is kind of small for the division and relies on things that won't have any effect against Claudia Gadelha. If Gadelha can get her game going, she beats up everybody, and Carla Esparza is not the person who can stop Gadelha from getting her game going. Gadelha by wide decision, maybe even finishes this bout late. Wes Riddle has Gadelha by decision.
Yeah, give me Claudia Gadelha here as well. She's just stronger than Esparza. She's a bit bigger. Height-wise, reach is actually the same at 63 inches each. She is 3 inches taller. But yeah, she's a physical specimen for the 115-pound division. She's has a pretty tough wake up, but she's able to make the weight. She's fought for the title before 115, no problem. Stylistically, just not a great match for Esparza. I mean, Esparza is a wrestler, but Gadelha is very good on the ground as well. And I think, just again, the physicality really comes into play here. Gadelha has harder punches, just more technical strikes. Esparza is not a very good, great stand-up fighter. I'm sure she's gotten better, but you still think back to that beatdown she took from Joanna, and just, you look at it and it's kind of crazy. But I think the lines, maybe the odds are a bit wide, but hey, Gadelha should still be a pretty heavy favorite here. I like her. I'd be shocked if Esparza pulls it out. Give me Gadelha via, let's say, a 3rd round TKO. I think she gets her out of there, but pretty late on. All right, last prelim before the main card. Alistair Overeem versus Curtis Razor Blades in the heavyweight division. Very important fight for the division. Number 2 versus number 4. Both guys looking for another crack at the title. Of course, Blades has a better argument for it than Overeem does. Overeem coming off the loss to Ngannou, and he has lost to Stipe already. But nonetheless, very good fight here stylistically. Do you like Overeem, the slight underdog, or Curtis Blades?
We have a first here. Wes Riddle and I agree, and we both agree on an underdog. We are both taking Alistair Overeem. Close fight. I think Curtis Blades is honestly, there's a pretty good argument that he is the best prospect in the heavyweight division, even over Francis Ngannou. I know those two have matched up and things didn't go his way, but I think the way he's developing is probably a little bit better than we've seen Ngannou develop, just because Ngannou is still so raw. What he does is extremely good, and you and I talked about we think he's going to be a champion one day. I still hold to that. But I do think Curtis Blades, if he gets to grow a little more down the line, that's a guy who can really be a perfect foil for Ngannou as eventually Stipe kind of steps away from being the title holder and that kind of thing as he gets older and these two youngish guys for the division move up. That being said, I think that Alistair Overeem is one of those guys that I just don't think what Blades does is going to be that effective against him. Overeem's always been a really strong defensive wrestler. He and when he, unlike Mark Hunt, who after he stuffs the shot kind of needs to get back to distance to work his hands. Curtis Blades never really allowed that to happen. When Overeem can stuff the shot on Curtis Blades, he's going to start hammering Blades with knees to the body, and that's going to slow Blades up a lot and kind of take more of the wind out of the sails going forward. I just like the way Overeem's game matches up here. He is, frankly, probably the most talented heavyweight that's ever been, like in the history of the sport, and it's just kind of he's had struggles in various capacities, but at any given time, he's been one of the very, very best heavyweights in the world for a decade at this point, and I think he's still got enough juice left in him to kind of fend off this challenger, because I don't think Blade's going to lamp him on the feet, and that's really the major concern for Overeem these days is that chin taking shots after he got punted to the moon by Ngannou. So give me Overeem. I'm going to say late stoppage, third round. Wes has a first round KO.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. So I think we're all on an underdog. I believe that the first time we all have agreed on an underdog. I guess so.
Tonight, yeah.
Yeah. Give me Alistair Overeem. I like him. I like most of what you said. I mean, Curtis Blades is a very talented fighter. He's still a bit raw for my liking, but that's okay, considering a lot of the guys at heavyweight are old and he can beat up on them anyways, like he did to Mark Hunt last time out. But Curtis Blades' game is wrestling. I mean, his striking is coming along nicely. It's getting better. We see improvements each and every time. But I don't know if the improvements needed to outstrike and basically either knock out or outstrike an Alistair Overeem, who's just an incredibly talented striker. K1, and then, of course, in MMA, he did very well on the feet. I mean, the guy is a monster on the feet when he wants to be. The knees, the kicks, everything. He's very good on the feet, and I just don't see Curtis Blades being able to hang with Overeem on the feet. Now, I don't think Overeem actually is going to knock out Curtis Blades. I think it'll go the distance. I think it'll be one of those safer Alistair Overeem fights, and that's okay because his chin still is shot. It has been for a long time. Blades could knock him out. I mean, Alistair Overeem can fight a jiu-jitsu guy, and I won't be shocked if he gets knocked out, just because anybody at heavyweight has power. And it doesn't take much to knock out Overeem these days. It seems like that anyways, and it has been like that for quite some time. And so if Curtis Blades is able to get Alistair Overeem down on his back, then he could win this fight. He has a real good opportunity to win because, I mean, if he does what Stipe did to him, yeah, he'll probably win. Whether that's just sitting on top of him for 3 rounds or knocking him out cold with elbows. He could win, Curtis Blades, that is. But in general, Overeem has had pretty good defensive wrestling. I know Stipe got him down, but hey, Stipe is the champion for a reason. And so I think this will be a stand-up fight, and I have to favor Overeem. Despite the chin issues, I have to favor him in this fight. Just technically, he's a bit more sound. He's actually a lot more sound than Curtis Blades. So give me Alistair over him via unanimous decision. With that, we move on to the UFC 225 pay-per-view main card, which kicks off at the awesome time of 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. We kick things off at welterweight. Here we go. CM Punk, Mike the Truth Jackson. Jed, does CM Punk win for the first time in MMA, or does Mike Jackson win for the first time in MMA?
Someone's always got to go. Look, man, who knows? That's the only answer. Neither of us can give analysis here because we've seen so very little of them. And anybody picking this one confidently is basically picking it on hearsay or because they like Mike Jackson, because they have podcasts with Mike Jackson, whatever. I like Mike Jackson too. Frankly, I like CM Punk, and I wish nothing but the best for him. And I'm happy for him to keep fighting in the UFC. That doesn't bother me a damn bit. I hope we can see something out of him here. I'm going to take Jackson just because he's younger and seems a little bit more of a natural fit for MMA. He seems to be acclimated to the sport a little more, but he got tapped in 40 seconds. I won't be shocked if CM Punk can grab him around the waist and also do that. What we're in for is a really ugly fight, and anything can happen in those fights, but all the footage I've seen of CM Punk does not give me a lot of confidence in. He just doesn't seem like he naturally has adopted the game all that well. Like honestly, I think I could fight him competently. Like, and I'm not trying to be Billy Badass over here. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the physicality it takes to be a professional wrestler and all that. But I mean, I've been actively fighting for like 5 years. So I think that I could at least be competitive with him. And I don't feel like I would be competitive with Mike Jackson. I mean, I guess maybe I could be too, but based off of that kind of assumption, I'm taking Mike Jackson. But we'll see. I hope I'm proven wrong because I hope CM Punk gets wins. I think it's good for the UFC and good for the fighters if he does. Wes Riddle is taking Punk with a second round submission, so that's cool. Arbitrate. Me and Wes disagreeing once again.
Yeah, Wes is on the island and he knows it. I mean, when you pick CM Punk, don't expect many people to agree with you. I just can't pick CM Punk to win a fight.
To be fair, I will say CM Punk being like a plus 200 underdog is stupid as shit. Like, I love Mike Jackson, but that man shouldn't be a big ass favorite over fucking anybody. Like,
no, not really.
Like, Mike Jackson is a minus 200 favorite. Straight up, Mike Jackson shouldn't be a minus 200 favorite over me. Like, that just on the Bible. That dude has done nothing in fight sport to earn that from a Vegas book. And I got nothing but love for Mike Jackson in my heart.
Well, over you, I would put him at a solid 200, but I'm not going to lie. But over CM Punk, yeah, minus 150 makes a bit more sense.
Mickey Gall tapped in 45 seconds. I'm just saying, like, I think I lose to Mike Jackson too, but if it goes to the ground, he didn't look stellar, so shit could happen. Like, minus 200 for that man is a generous line.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I don't know how Mike Jackson is going to win. I think he does win, though. I guess he's mostly a striker, right?
Yes.
So, like, is he going to knock out CM Punk? I don't know. I mean,
that would be the belief.
Well, that would be, yeah. Sure, Jackson by TKO in round 2, but A, I don't really care. B, this is going to suck, but C, good for CM Punk, whatever. I mean, may the best man win, or may the not the worst man win, I guess probably is a better way to put it. Give me Mike Jackson, though. I think you kind of have to auto pick him. He's more of a fighter than CM Punk. He's an LFA photographer over a fighter, but yeah, Mike Jackson will win. But yeah, that's kind of what I got. Moving on, we got heavyweights Andrei Arlovsky, the former champion, and Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa. A lot of hype around this guy as of late. The guy is 2-0 in the UFC, both knockouts, looking really good. I know, him drinking beer out of a shoe has helped the amount of publicity he gets as well. Do you like him here? I mean, he's a big favorite. I think it makes a lot of sense. Does he beat the Pitbull here, or does Andrei Arlovsky turn back the clock for the second time in a row?
Third time.
Yes.
Come on, give that man his due. Look, I am one of the rare believers in Andrei Arlovsky still. I picked him both over Struve and Albini. I have been on. I think I picked him over Tyburo too, and was a
No,
little.
you picked Tybura, and because I remember I picked Orlovsky over Tybura, got that wrong, and I picked against Orlovsky in his last two fights, which he both won. So I've been doing terrible with picking Andre Orlovsky lately.
Well, I definitely picked him over Albini and Struve, and I think that he has done a really good job of making him one final career renaissance to be wrestler Arlovsky, and just stay relevant in a really shitty division and keep getting wins that matter. I think that stops here. Tai Tuivasa is pretty young and exciting. He hits super hard. That's always been the kryptonite for Andrei Arlovsky. And Tuivasa seems to be pretty good at not getting taken down. So wrestler Arlovsky probably not going to be that successful. If he can get a takedown early and kind of grind Tuivasa down. We haven't seen much of his cardio, so maybe he can. And if he does, it'd be amazing. I would love nothing more than Alistair Overeem and Andrei Arlovsky to fight each other for a fucking title shot at the end of this year because it would be incredible. But yeah, give me Tai Tuivasa with an early knockout. Westwood agrees, first round knockout, Tai Tuivasa.
It still boggles my mind that in 2016, Andrei Arlovsky was in essentially a title
It
eliminator
was.
against Stipe Miocic.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how quickly he fell, and now he's on a two-fight winning streak again. I don't know what to expect, but I do actually. In this fight particularly, I do. Tai Tuivasa will knock out Andrei Arlovsky. He'll make it look easy. It's a good win on his record, but you know, I don't know. I don't know how much you should put into it as far as how impressive it'll be. But hey, he'll make it look good. Can't complain. Give me Tai Tuivasa to bam bam Andrei Arlovsky into oblivion. Give me him by knockout in round. Let's see round number two. I think Arlovsky will survive at least 5 minutes. Moving on to the women's featherweight division, we got the first ever non-title women's featherweight fight in the UFC. History is being made in more ways than one on this card. Holly, the preacher's daughter, Holm, the former UFC bantamweight champion, taking on former Invicta FC featherweight champion Megan Anderson, finally making her long-awaited debut in the octagon. Who do you like here, Holm or Anderson?
Give me Holly Holm. I don't feel good about it just because Holly Holm hasn't won in like 10 years. I know she has a win in there, but it's been a really rough stretch for her. And if she wins this and she fights Cyborg again, that's not doing her any fucking favors. Um, but I'm just not a big Megan Anderson believer. I think she would have been a perfect opponent just to match her up against Cyborg instead of making her get a win because it's going to be harder for her to get a win. And they could have sold that, and then Cyborg could have killed her. But Anderson's huge. She looked like shit on the scale at the weigh-ins, so maybe that massive size difference gives Holm pause tomorrow. But Holly Holm's Anderson's gonna want to come forward and press against Holly Holm, and that's when Holly Holm literally is the best is at working a counter game with angles. And so I don't know, man. I'm not interested in this fight. Actually, I think this might be a real slog to work through 15 minutes of just to find the next lamb to slaughter for Chris Cyborg. But give me Holly Holm. Westford agrees. He thinks it's gonna be a little more exciting. Is Holly getting a second round KO?
Real quick, do you think there's a chance Anderson wrestles home here, or at least looks to wrestle her?
Well, I guess I could see her trying to. It's not going to be a super effective strategy for her, I don't think. But I mean, it'd be an okay idea. Like I always think people should shoot just as a mixer, like just change things up a
Well,
little
because
bit.
Holmes not anything special on the ground, and
I
you know,
think I think it's a little more likely that Holm tries to wrestle Anderson.
really,
Anderson, I mean, Holly. I don't think she'll try to wrestle, but I do think Holly Holm has good takedowns and trips from the clinch, and her fighting style lends herself to ending up in those kind of clinch positions. And I think from there, like she took Ronda down for like a minute, she just like slammed her down and let her back up. I always thought that should be a much more active part of her game, just in general. And I think that like if she had done that against Jermaine Durandamy, I think she would have won the belt against Jermaine Durandamy. I think she can do that some here, and she might try and do it. Just not play for long. But I mean, shit, Megan Anderson's not great on the floor, so We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's like an intriguing fight, but a fight I'm not all that interested in. So, um, the main card not starting out too strong here, unless you're a big Shuey fan.
Or a wrestling fan, that I'm sure, that too. Yeah, give me a Holly Holm here, but I don't say that confidently. I think Megan Anderson does have a path to victory here. To me, she's not going to outstrike Holly Holm, even though she probably is, well, I know she's more aggressive and probably lands more as the more active fighter. I think Holm is just too precise. She's too accurate for Megan Anderson, who's a bit more wild. Not I wouldn't call her raw. I mean, she's had 10 pro fights. She's been around for a little while. Was at the top of Invicta, but Holm just seems to be the more composed fighter in general. But on the ground, I mean, Holly Holm doesn't have a ton. She's never won by submission, whereas Anderson has it a couple times. I could see that as a path to victory. Her, as I asked you about, Jed, just because of her size advantage. I mean, she is 4 inches taller and has 4 inches of reach on Holm, and so she seems to be, the stronger fighter here. She could bully Holly Holm a little bit, who, tends to allow herself to get bullied a little bit in her fights if it gets into the clinch and maybe even onto the ground. Yeah, but I do like Holly Holm to keep her distance. Nothing too powerful. I don't think she'll knock out Megan Anderson like West does, but I think she'll be able to outstrike Anderson en route to a somewhat lackluster unanimous decision victory. Moving on to the UFC 225 co-main event, the interim welterweight championship is on the line when former lightweight title holder Rafael dos Anjos meets rising contender, the one, the only Colby Chaos Covington. Everybody, clap, clap, clap for Colby Covington, MMA's most hated man. Jed, you like Colby Covington, who has actually just switched over to being a betting favorite. So now I have Covington at minus 124. The
He's
comeback.
been the favorite all day.
Yeah, so I didn't mean just this second, but sometime today he switched over. I probably after the weigh-in sometime. But obviously all week, as far as I know, he was the underdog. But minus 124 for Covington. Come back on Dos Anjos at plus 105. I saw plus 110 a little bit ago as well. So right around there, close fight still. Probably on paper and on betting wise as well. Who do you like here? Who walks away with interim gold?
I think this is a very close fight. I'm taking Rafael dos Anjos. I don't feel very confident in it. But Colby Covington's striking is just so piss fucking poor defensively that he gets by basically on being tough and just throwing volume. But I mean, this is a dude who lost the first round to K1 Maya. Um, and Rafael dos Anjos is a much better wrestler or much better boxer in that regard. The difference here is against Dos Anjos, Covington is not going to feel any type of trepidation about taking him down. And that has been somewhat of an Achilles heel for Rafael dos Anjos. He is not a superb defensive wrestler. He's a good one, but not a great one. And so Covington is a good wrestler, and that could really make things interesting. We'll see how Covington's cardio holds up. I would like to see Dos Anjos come out with a leg kick heavy game plan, kind of slow up those shots from Covington as the fight goes on. But I won't be surprised if either fighter gets their hand raised here. I just think that it is a little bit more likely in my head that even if Covington gets him down, he's not going to be able to run the same type of chain wrestling against Dos Anjos that Habib did. And so Dos Anjos will be able to get back to his feet enough. And on the feet, I expect him to kind of pressure Covington, back Covington up, make Covington a little uncomfortable on the feet, and just kind of work him over as best he can. Close fight. We'll see how it goes. But give me Rafael dos Anjos by decision. And Westwood sort of agrees he has Rafael dos Anjos with a second round KO.
Yep, I will complete the hat trick. Give me Rafael dos Anjos, the former lightweight champ, RDA himself, to defeat Colby Covington, hand him his second pro loss and his first loss since I believe, was it December 2015 on the Aldo McGregor card? I believe that is the case. Let me check. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yeah. This feels more and more like a close fight, but other than just and I know this is kind of self-explanatory, but other than just pure wrestling, taking RDA down over and over and over 25 minutes, I don't know how Colby Covington can win. I think on the feet, and again, this is also kind of obvious, but I gotta say it, on the feet, Dos Anjos will absolutely destroy Colby Covington. Colby Covington is not a very good striker. He's getting better. I noticed significant improvements, I think, maybe in the Brian Barberina fight back in December 2016. He's gotten better since then too, but I haven't quite noticed the same leaps as I did, a year and a bit ago. Defensively on the feet, he's just not great. He lunges forward with a lot of his strikes. It's just not great technique, really. Dos Anjos, on the other hand, I mean, he's a terrific striker. He's very good, very talented everywhere. The guy is a good wrestler himself. His submissions are very good. Now, the one thing that Covington is great at is wrestling, and so RDA has been taken down before. You might remember the Khabib Nurmagomedov fight back in April 2014. Yeah, could Colby Covington, the bigger man here, do that to RDA? Yeah, I guess so. And I'm trying to keep any bias out of this, but I think Dos Anjos is good enough. I mean, he's gotten better since that Khabib fight at 170. He's looked better than ever. I just have to think that Dos Anjos will be smart enough not to let Covington sit on top of him for 25 minutes. Dos Anjos also, keep in mind, has gone 25 minutes before against Pettis, against there's someone else out there for sure. I just can't. He's gone 5 rounds a couple times at the very least. Covington, first really big fight. I mean, yeah, he's fought Damian Maia. That was a big one, but this is a big opportunity for him, but also a real test. And I don't think he passes it. I think Dos Anjos absolutely destroys him. On paper, it's close, but off of paper, I think Dos Anjos is going to thump him up. Give me Dos Anjos via TKO in round number 4. All right, main event time. We got the UFC Middleweight Championship. Wait, no, we don't. Yoel Romero missed weight today by 0.2 pounds. Therefore, he is ineligible to win the UFC Middleweight title tomorrow night. That means middleweight champion Robert Whittaker will remain middleweight champion no matter what happens, but we still get 5 rounds of action from the 2 best 185ers on the planet. So I'm not complaining all that much, especially as a guy that, hey, let's be honest, UFC titles don't mean that much at the end of the day. So I'm still happy we're getting 5 rounds of Romero Whittaker 2. It just does suck because, it's always going to be in the back of your mind that, hey, is Romero, has an advantage here because of the weight? Does he have a disadvantage because
It's not going to be in the back of my mind at all.
I think I'll be thinking about it, but hey, I'll try and enjoy it as much.
You really think the 0.2 is going to? That's a big edge. That's just a huge edge.
No. I don't know. I don't think it'll affect the fight.
This whole fucking thing is a name.
I think you're just going to be fighting for whatever. Anyways, who do you like? Robert Whittaker, the middleweight champion. He's not defending it, but it's still 5 rounds. Does he beat Yoel Romero again, or does Romero avenge his loss to Whittaker back in July of last year?
Yes, he beats Yoel Romero again, probably a little bit more convincingly. As if you'll recall, in their first fight, Whittaker blew out his MCL 5 seconds into the first round, or Romero blew it out for him, and Whittaker was still able to gut it out, win 3 rounds, including the 5th round, fighting on one leg. He's a hard ass man. He is improving in leaps and bounds. Romero, honestly, astonishing. He is still getting better at his age, but he is an athletic freak. He's the best athlete the UFC's ever seen. If he lamps Robert Whittaker, it won't be totally shocking, but much more likely outcome here. It was same sort of look as the first fight, only maybe a little bit more convincing. Whittaker just kind of outlands him, outpoints him, manages to keep standing enough to take home on the judges' scorecards at least 3, if not 4 of the rounds. So yeah, give me Robert Whittaker. I mean, we saw the same fight not that long ago. It's a great fight. It was a great fight then. I'm excited to watch it again, but my analysis is not going to be that different. I don't think too much has changed.
No, I'm with you here.
Oh,
What?
Wes Riddle
Yeah.
has Whittaker by decision.
And did you say by decision or
I
by
do.
TQ?
Decision. I
Okay.
don't think he's getting a
Yeah.
stoppage.
I agree with a lot of what you said here. I mean, the fact of the matter is that these guys fought 11 months ago, and since then, Whittaker has not fought. He's been injured, so I guess that counts for something. Not that much, but maybe he's rusty. Who knows?
You know what he
Anything can
did
happen.
during that 11 months, though? He did wrestle and qualify, won the Australian National Championship in wrestling and qualified for the Commonwealth Games.
But
That
didn't they remove him from that?
he ultimately opted not to
Okay.
not to compete because of his UFC career, essentially.
Right.
But he was the national champion. He won the trials. He is the best wrestler at that weight division in Australia. That's a pretty big fucking accomplishment.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I
Like this
knew.
is a dude who could, like, Yoel Romero, is a silver medalist in Olympic wrestling. It is completely reasonable that Robert Whittaker, while being a UFC champion, might end up wrestling in the Olympics. Now he's not going to medal there, but he could wrestle in them, which is a big fucking accomplishment in its own right.
Yeah, that is interesting. But the thing is, again, as far as MMA goes, the only thing that has happened is Romero knocked out Rockhold. And although that was a great win, I learned nothing about Yoel Romero from that win. We saw that he has power, that he is vicious, and he's ferocious, and he's just a monster, when he fights. But we knew that already. We've seen him do similar things to other fighters before. And so I haven't learned anything about other fighters since that fight. I learned in that fight that Robert Whittaker is really freaking good. And it just seemed to me when they fought the first time, it looked like Robert Whittaker just had Yoel Romero's number. Now, Yoel Romero is going to start out again good. He's probably going to win the first round. The second is going to be close. I think Robert Whittaker will just win it slightly more decisively here, though. I think he'll probably, if I'm going to, be very specific, I'll say Romero will win the first round and Whittaker the final four. I don't think it'll be a stoppage, though. I think Romero, I mean, it's going to be tough to knock this guy out. I don't think Whittaker will. He could. One hard shot and, Romero could go down. But ultimately, I think Whittaker will win by decision. It'll be similar fashion, and I like him to. I was going to say retain the title, but I like him to beat Yoel Romero again. And I think Romero, he has a shot. You can never count him out.
All right, that's done.
That's done.
I don't need you to repeat how he might have a shot 4 more times.
Robert Whittaker by decision. Does that work for you, Jed?
That works for me.
Okay.
Let's move on. Let's wrap it up with bonuses and DraftKings. I'll give you mine and Wes's as far as bonuses and let you jump in there and give you a couple of minutes to maybe finalize your DraftKings team if you're still working on it. Bonuses. I am taking your main event, Robert Whittaker, Yoel Romero. That is my fight of the night. I think it won fight of the night last time. Very good fight. I think they're just going to do the same thing again. Performances, I'm going with the big boys. Tai Tuivasa and Rashad Coulter, I think, are getting first-round KOs, so I'm putting them as my performance winners. And my underdog, I have picked 3 underdogs in this card, Sergio Pettis, Alistair Overeem, and Rafael Dos Anjos. I am choosing to go with Alistair Overeem as my underdog pick of the week. Wes Riddle is also taking Whittaker Romero as his fight of the night. He is taking Alistair Overeem and Mirsad Bektic as his performance of the night, and he is going with Clay Guida. He picked 5 underdogs on this card, but Clay Guida is his underdog pick of the week. What about you, Nikolai?
Okay, for my underdog pick of the week, I'm going to go with RDA. Can you just remind me your 3 underdogs again? You had Overeem, RDA, and who again?
Pettis.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I'm going to go RDA for my fight of the night. What did you go?
Both Wes and I went Whittaker Romero.
Yeah, it seems to be a good pick. I'm probably going to go different. Let's just look here. What could be fight of the night?
RDA Covington?
Yeah, it's tempting, but
it's another 5-rounder. They have an inherent advantage.
Yeah, sure. Why not? RDA Covington. Even though, I mean, I think honestly Lamas Bektik could get it, which kind of is weird, but it probably won't. But that stands out. Ige Santiago, I don't know why, but I still come back to that one. But I'll go RDA Covington. My performances, I will go with let's see here, uh, Tai Tuivasa and Anthony Smith.
Okay. And then that leaves us
Uh,
with DraftKings. Wes Riddle's DraftKings team. Wes and I share 4 fighters on our team. Uh, both of us have Tai Tuivasa. Both of us have Alistair Overeem. Both of us have Mirsad Bektic. And both of us have Sergio Pettis. So we share those 4. Wes rounds out his team with Robert Whittaker and Mike Santiago. I round out my team with Rashad Coulter and Rafael Dos Anjos. Frankly, I think my team is better than Wes's since he's essentially taking Whittaker and Santiago versus Coulter and RDA. I like my team a little bit better in that regard. And then what about you? I will say the reason I don't have, I always say every time I'm on here, always put guys in 5-round fights. Whoever you think is going to win that because they get more points. If you look, uh, Robert Whittaker cost you like a shitload of money, and he only got 80 points for his win over Yoel Romero last thing. Like the price, and he costs much more now than he did back then. I just don't think the price is worth it on him, so I decided to forego the main event, and that's why I'm at where I'm at. What about you, Nikolai? Bring us home.
I'm choosing between a couple fighters. Flip a coin. We'll go with that one. Okay. We share quite a few fighters as well. Can you run down the 4 fighters you guys share?
Tuivasa, Overeem, Bektic, Pettis.
Okay, I have 3 of those.
So you're going to have Tuivasa and Overeem.
Correct.
I would assume. Bektic?
No, Pettis. I'm
Oh,
picking
really?
Benavidez, but Pettis is so cheap, and I think he has a
Same
shot
with,
here.
same
So
with Wes.
yeah, so I got Dos Anjos, Overeem, Sergio Pettis, Anthony Smith, Tai Tuivasa, and Charles Oliveira.
Okay.
I initially had Dan Ige on there. I think that's not a terrible pick. I might switch him out with Charles Oliveira. I mean, that's a real tough one because Oliveira, I mean, I said Guida could beat Oliveira. That's true. Santiago could beat. I mean, I think I'll probably end up sticking with Oliveira over Ige just because there's lesser unknowns regarding Oliveira than Ige. I mean, Ige's only had 1 fight in the UFC. And Anthony Smith, I initially had Whittaker, but I kind of agree with you. I mean, although he's pretty active, 80 points isn't. I think Smith can get more than that. So, yeah. And I think having Tai Tuivasa at 9,300 is a good pick, too. So that's my team. That does it, right?
Yeah, we're done.
All right. Episode 111 Before the Battle, UFC 225 edition in the books. Thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the show, and even if you didn't, go give us a big thumbs up down there and subscribe to my YouTube channel somewhere down there. It's on that side, that side. I never remember. You'll find it. Subscribe button, big red button. Go click that, and I would appreciate that. If you have any feedback for the program, drop a message in the comment section down below, and I will reply to you if needed. Feel free to ask a question, compliment, criticism, anything you want. Comment section are open. Free speech. Go use it. Jed, remind everybody where they can find you.
Find all my work at MMAfighting.com. You can follow me on Twitter at JedKMeshew.
And you guys can find me on the Twitter at Nick Baldwin MMA. You can find all of my writing over at bloodyelbow.com. I will have an interview audio up with Darren Stewart. Hopefully we'll get that up tomorrow during the day sometime. That's the plan anyways before the card starts. That was pretty fun. Go check that out when it's up. Posted a few stories up on Bloody Elbow earlier today. A couple will be up tomorrow as well. I'll be doing recaps for the 225 tomorrow. I think that is it for me. Thank you all for watching again. And for Jed Meshew, I'm Nick Baldwin. Enjoy the fights tomorrow night.
Love you guys.